Welcome to our lab today. Today we are finishing the hidden and construction line lab review. I have in front of you on the screen a completed version of the drawings here. Notice some of them, for instance, drawing A, which is here on the right side, the isometric perspective here, it's showing here. Drawing A, very simple. The only hidden line there that needs to be shown is highlighted there. So some of these are very simple, and yet I'm going to show also drawing D, which is also down below. Just one hidden line there shown. But anytime you have circles, holes in drawings, where they go through crossways, slanted ways, what you end up with is much more complex additions. For instance, in this drawing B, and I'm going to move this over to right there. Excuse me, is that drawing C? Yes, drawing C. Anytime you have holes into an object, you need to remember to include your hidden lines, excuse me, your center lines, as shown here in the hole there, but also that there's another hole here, and I'm highlighting that here to show that other hole in the object, in this case it's the top one, is also going through a piece there. So same thing here and here for all of your center lines, verifying that this is indeed a circular hole with a radius that goes all the way through. Hidden lines also are shown here, having the edges of the holes listed. So this is a quick review of how that works. Again, this drawing did not require for you to draw the isometric views, excuse me, the orthographic views, just to fill out where the hidden and center lines are. Look at drawing E. This was also a complex one. It required for you to draw a line. Let me just show you an example of what I did. To draw an imaginary circle, or excuse me, imaginary corner line. In this case, I'm figuring this out here. From this point, and draw it out. And from here, I'm going to set my angle at 45. Once you have that angle of 45, and I probably should have made this a little longer. Once you stretch it out like that, then you use that as a reference point, and I'm just doing it quickly to verify where this whole center line is. Make sure your ortho's on, and go outward there, go a little closer, draw another line, and take that down. Again, these are just reference lines that I'm using to show where how you line up this circle center line to this hole here. Then you turn those back into the center lines listed there and things. Hopefully this is all review, but the key here is being able to look at a drawing, an orthographic drawing, and be able to decipher where the center lines go and where the hidden lines go. In this case, you have that drawing from, we'll go right there. This one here was a pretty good size one. Make that a little bit bigger there. Okay. So you see how that plays out in terms of a single hole going through the side view, top view, and things like that. Again, hopefully not as hefty as drawing the orthographic drawings, but still a good size amount of work. Now let's move on to our next section. We're moving, for a couple of labs, we're moving completely away from isometric views, orthographic views, and we're going to go into something more in a two-dimensional plane, and that's dealing with maps, drawing of maps. So we're going to have a quick introduction. I'm pulling here the link from our master link sheet, and although what you might have is a little different here, I'm pulling up a something called a Plat drawing. This is a website. They're very common for cities to have. Most cities will have something like this. This one's from the city of Fargo, North Dakota. And as this loads, I'll explain that what most cities have is a system for laying out maps. Of course, they have paper maps on file, but they want to give the public a chance to access views of maps in terms of property lines, city sections, and other things that deal with their city. So they put these online. This is a rudimentary version of what we have nowadays. You can, there are several websites that show you maps of cities and streets and things. Particularly, for instance, Google Maps is very good at that. What we have here is a typical city that before Google Maps came out. This was commonly how things were looked at. Again, I said this is Fargo, North Dakota. Let me see if I can get the screen to fit a little better. What you see here is a kind of a grid view. What you see here is kind of a grid view of the map area, and a lot of different layers. Notice the layers here. We just work with layers, introducing how that works with AutoCAD. So right now there are some of the layers set. There are streets, there are street labels, and interstate shields. Notice as I move my mouse across here and I roll the mouse roller forward, it zooms in. Again, this is a lot like other map programs. Then if I click on it, hold the left click button down and move it around, I can maneuver the map. So this should be very familiar to you. This should be very familiar to you considering you've been using AutoCAD for a while. So here I can see different sections, different streets, interstate shields. A few of the labels are here. Also it says Fargo parcels, that's the city parcels, that's land borders. If I zoom in close, if I take off parcels, notice all of the yellow disappears. If I go back on here, and so what it is the streets are gray. If I take off that, you see the streets. Although they are symbolized with just a line, they are a street. They're wide, 15 to 25 feet long, or excuse me, wide usually. And if I take off the parcels, these are the property lines, the ownership of the property lines. If I zoom in very close, this is something you won't find in Google Maps or any other map website other than the city, and that is the actual property boundary lines listed with the city. So this is one particular, maybe a home. It doesn't show where homes are or anything, just the boundary lines. But as you run through the layers, you can enlarge. Let's say I want to see where the street lights are in the city. Click on there and it shows, at least in a summary form, where these lights are. You can see they are yellow, and they probably list orange for power lines that run underground or something like that. I'm taking those off. If I wanted to look at something in detail, I can also point up, let's see, what's another example? Garbage collection routes. I'm going to pull out farther. If I want to see where are the garbage collection routes, it shows with the layered colors, different routes, maybe what day they pick up. If I wanted to take that off, put schools, where are the school boundaries? You can see where they are in the city. Again, this is an extensive use of the layers command in it's non-AutoCAD, but it's still similar. Same concept. If I wanted to see the zoning, so it takes a little longer. This will tell us where residential zones are, or commercial and other industrial zones. So that's the idea here with city plat drawing maps. And what I wanted to do today was walk you through a lab that will kind of give you an introduction to how to draw these. Very simple lining, but you need to be precise. In the United States, we typically use feet instead of meters for our drawings, and so I'm going to run through a lab where you use feet instead of meters for drawing. In order to do that, let's pull off this map, open up a typical AutoCAD file. This one is your basic, just a default opened up as we've done throughout the semester. Now, as I've mentioned before, if you draw a line, draw a quick line here, notice here that in this case it's 9.1277, and we call it units. 9.1277 units doesn't mean it's feet or micrometers or inches. It just means units. It's a general term. And if I click here, I end up, escape out, with a line that is that long. It tells me I've escaped out and I'm just coming up to the edge here, and it tells me the width, or excuse me, the length of the line there at 9.1277. Now, that is units. If we want to specifically identify these units as feet, I'm erasing that line. What you need to do is type in the word UN, UN, and make sure you're not in another command. You might need to push escape a couple of times. But when you're in the sequence of UN, it assumes that you want to refer to the units on this setup. So I'll push enter. It opens up a screen, looks like this. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And it brings up the drawing units screen. And right now it tells me that we are in decimal, and it tells me we are going precision level of 4 decimal points after the 0. So very precise. It also lists that we are in inches, but not necessarily showing anything. So what I'm going to do is recommend that you change, for this lab, change this decimal to architectural. Now watch what happens to your precision. Instead of being a decimal point, now we are dealing with fractions. And it's important to note, I don't know if I can make this any bigger, but that symbol there, the apostrophe, is the symbol for feet. So this is 0 feet. And then the symbol there, the quotation mark, is the symbol for inches. So feet and inches. That's how we are now going to verify that we are the lengths of what we are working on. So once I've changed that, again, I've changed it from decimal to architectural, and there's nothing else to change in this particular lab. I'll push OK. Now watch what happens when I draw a line. If I start a first point, notice my dimensions, my length, instead of being a 9 or a 10 point something something, it now says 10, and that means inches, and then it says 11 sixteenths, 11 over sixteenths. So that comes out to be 10 inches and 11 sixteenths of an inch, or just under 11 inches. So I can do my dimensions here. This one here is 1 foot, because it's just over 12 inches. 1 foot 2 inches. And then coming back here, this last point is 1, I'm making a triangle. It says 1 foot 3 and 1/16 inches. 1 foot 3 and 1/16 inches. So that's how you read them. I'm going to connect that shut and escape out. So I have this triangle with inches and feet readings there, as compared to the decimal points that we've done in the past. Like other lines, you can also draw a line to say, let's say I want this particular line to be 2 feet. So I type in 2. Now I need to remember to put the apostrophe there, 2, and that's the sign for feet. When I click enter, it now draws a line. I'll zoom out just a little bit. It draws a line that is 2 feet exactly, or also known as 24 inches, which is how our imperial system is for doing measurements. So we can now draw things. If I want to draw something that is, let's say I want to draw something that was 1,000 feet. So we'll go 1,000 feet. Make sure you put the apostrophe, and then I'll push escape. Let's see how big that one is. This is very big, large. And again, for maps and things that we're drawing, very big line. Now let's say you wanted to do a 1,000-foot line, same thing, from here to here, but you forgot to draw the feet sign. You just type in 1,000 and you forget to verify that it's feet. What happens is AutoCAD assumes that you mean inches, and you end up with a much shorter line. See that line? This is 1,000 inches, or the equivalent of 83 foot 4 inches. So you need to remember to put down the feet marks. Okay. All right. So with that in mind, we are now, I'm going to erase all of this. We are now in the feet section. I'm going to show you one more thing on layout, on this layout here. So up until now, we've worked always in the model tab. But if I click on layout, what it does is it opens up a different looking screen, a separate screen, a similar screen, which look almost exactly the same between 1 and 2. Well, keep in mind, if you draw a line here on the model view, and then you go to the layout view, you see the same line there, which in this case is showing a little offset. I'm going to move the screen over. The way you get in here, you double click inside this grid area, double click there, then you can move around, excuse me, you can move around your drawing. So I see that same line in there. If I go back to model, the model view, that's listed there, layout 1, and then let me go to layout 2, and again I'll double click inside here. It shows that I'm editing here. Now I can zoom around or look around for that same drawing. I believe, oh, I needed to zoom out to find it there. There it is, that same drawing. But once I've found something in there, I can double click on the outside of this view, and now that stays there. It stays pegged there. With layout 1, I'm still in edit mode. I forgot to double click out. So I have two versions of the same drawing in layout 1 and 2. Let's pretend that this drawing, or this object, I'll go back to the model drawing. Let's pretend that it had something very small, let's say a very tiny circle with a radius here. And then within that circle, it had an even smaller circle. We'll use the diameter circle like this. And in the diameter circle, let's pretend it had a special design here. Nothing fancy, I'm just drawing something there. So in that circle, there's a little triangle. Then that's inside the center of this circle, which is connected to that line there. So in the model view, we can look at this and print it out from here. I'm going to escape out. But from the layout view, we can get a different perspective of the same drawing, but a deeper view sometimes, as is sometimes needed. So again, if I double click on this intersection, this inner grid area, I can now zoom in and out. And I'm going to zoom in on this circle here. So I've got the one size circle there. It's about the size I want. And if I want it to stay there, I double click on the outside, it stays there. We'll go to layout 2 and see the same original drawing as it was shown from the other view, from the model view here. And once again, I can zoom in here. Now, if I forget to double click inside this grid and I zoom in, see how it enlarges the whole sheet, the border and everything. And that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is edit what's inside the model view. So remember to double click to start editing. I'm going to enlarge that big circle, but this time I want to zoom in to the small circle with the triangle. And when I'm done, don't forget to double click out here. And so I have my layout 2 is a very close-up view of this triangle in a circle. Layout 1 is a larger circle. And I can add more. I can do a layout 3 that has a view. Once again, double click inside here. Let's say I wanted to show that line with the circle and the tiny circle, but from a distance. So now that I have that set where I want, so again I have layout 1 shows a close-up of the circle, layout 2 a close-up of the tiny portion inside the circle, and 3 showing just the long line and a circle from a faraway view. So this is helpful because each one of these I can view, I can print, I can change the perspective on it, and look at the same drawing, the same object from different views. So with that now known, I can erase everything else here. Oops, erase the other way, right to left, gives me the green. Now I can go on to the assignment here, which is known as the Garage Workshop Edition Lab. We've gone through the assignment, we've gone through the map views that are used by cities in counties, and now and we've learned about the command for how to change the measurement settings from a normal decimal or type of setting to something that's used by architects in inches. So let's go through the instructions here. It says Garage Workshop Edition Lab. You have a wealthy uncle who wants to build a garage shop in the back of his rental house or on a farm. Okay, so it goes through this story here. You can read through it yourself. Basically, it comes down to he wants to build a garage addition to an existing farm with a driveway. But he needs a little better drawing than his sketch, something on a CAD software package that has straight lines and labels and things like that. So what he's done, he's given you a sketch of his farm property, and I'm going to shrink this down. I've shrunk this down. This is a property drawing. So this dotted line here, dash dot line, is the property boundaries. He's got measurements for them. And he labeled this is a cornfield farm. And then down here in the lower section you have a road that goes in front. So it's a piece of property with a road that flows in front. And as I zoom in a little closer, notice that these boundaries, this one line here is 450 feet. 450 feet. And the frontage, which you could call the amount that goes across the front, is 180 plus 120, which should be about 300. 300 feet across the front of the property line. And then up close you can see he's sort of mapped out a round driveway which goes from the road onto, it could be some kind of a gravel road or it could be concrete, doesn't matter in this case. And then here it's a little hard to read, but it says residence. It tells you that the house, that's a house, is 45 feet by 30 feet. And oh, by the way, the driveway here is one driveway, but it's 40 feet in diameter. That's the sign for diameter. And so what you're looking at is a half circle for the outer rim of the driveway. And then you have this other driveway that comes in along the side of the house, goes to a platform area here. And then here is what he wants to add new. It's a new garage. Now it gives dimensions for this 40 feet by 20 feet. It tells you that this driveway is 82 feet long and it's 90 feet from the edge of the property. So a part of the exercise here is to be able to draw this out. Remember, this is in feet, not in just basic units anymore. So you'll need to make sure, and when you type in the amounts, the lengths, type in the apostrophe sign for the feet. Now, this new garage here, this is what he wants that's added on. It's 40 by 30. But what it is, it's a structure, and here's a close-up of it on the third page. Notice this one is listed sideways. I am just shrinking this down. It's listed sideways, but what it is it's a garage door, an overhead door, which opens and closes. You've got windows and the walls around the whole thing. These openings here, these are doors. Now, in architecture, your door is listed as a line that runs about a 45-degree angle. And then there's a hole or a gap in the spacing of the walls. So what he's given you is a basic dimension of the garage and about what it's going to look like. Now keep in mind that the city, in this case, they just want a drawing of it. They don't care about exact measurements of the doors, things like that, but if you could follow the directions given. These walls will need to have some thickness to them. The door will be some type of rectangle that's a little bigger than the wall. And we're not going to grade you too closely on how you draw those, as long as they're pretty uniform and they're kind of neat looking and cleaned up. This part of the assignment is a little bit like the basketball court assignment, where you had to thicken up these wall frames, wall sections, and and fill them in, and then trim out any excess lines that are not necessary. So let's go to the instructions here. Your uncle wants you to draw this. He's giving you $20 and the use of his car for the weekend. And it says the city wants 2 drawings, and I'll enlarge this a little bit. Use everything you've learned up to this far in ET 105 to create the drawings. and create some, you don't have to write the dimensions, the numbers there, but turn in two printouts. Using that layout tab. So you're having two perspectives on the same single drawing. Layout 1 should be a full view of the farm property, the lines and the layout. Layout 2 should be a close-up of the garage. Alright, so the drawing 1, this is for part of your credit here. It says to make sure you draw an overhead view of the property, draw an existing house, but just a rectangle based off of the dimensions. Make sure that when you draw the highway that runs along the front of the property line, it's 15 feet wide. You want to use the offset for that. And then for the driveway, there's one along the side of the house and the round driveway. Each of those should be 12 feet wide. And make sure you put some labels there for the building, the driveway, the cornfield, and then the garage. Now, for the property line, it says specifically choose the ACAD ISO 04W100 from the layers property for that. I'll walk you through that quickly. And that's drawing number 1. In fact, I'll probably just do that now. So remember, in order to, I'm going to enlarge this screen. In order to draw a specific line, let's say you have a line, I'm going to do a quick property line. This is not by any means accurate, but let's just say that this were the property line, and you wanted to change that to a layer type. And again, if you look at the assignment, I'm gonna walk you through the steps. Go to Layer Properties, open that up, and then from here you see you only have one layer property there, so you'll want to add another new layer. You'll get the new layer there, and you could change the name here. We'll call this property line. Push enter. And I'm going to give this a different color, something easy to see but dark enough to print. I'll go with let's see, a bright green. Hopefully that works. Then I'm going to change the continuous. And remember, the other one, the assignment asked you to load the ACAD for ISO 04W100. So I'm going to load that. I'm going to look down, scroll down until I see the ACAD ISO 4100. I think I see it right there. It's a long dash dot. So I'm highlighting that, pushing OK. Notice here it has loaded it. So I'm going to highlight that and push OK. So now this property line is listed there. So here I can close this. Now anything that I highlight, let's just say I wanted to highlight this, these two, and this here to make the property line. Oh, what the heck, I'll do them all. Now if I want to change that line to something different, I go back to Layers, to the pull-down menu. There's the property line. And that should be complete. Only the items that I've selected will be changed. And if you look real close, you see that it's got the dash and the dot line there, the green there. Okay, so back to the assignment. You want the property boundary line to be something like that, something dashed and dot. All right, now next part of this drawing is to draw the floor plan of the new garage. This is based off of that page 3 from the lab. The exterior walls should be 6 inches thick, or half a foot. So remember, when you're doing the offset, type in 6 and then don't forget the quotation mark there, the inches. The interior walls should be 5 inches thick. And remember, I'm going to scroll down here. And what it's saying is these interior walls are 1 thickness, 5 inches. These perimeter ones are 6, so they'll be a little bit thicker. But you'll want to clean up the drawings there. Excuse me, I'm going to go back up here. All right, so they want you to draw those. Doors are 3 feet wide, and windows should show up as thicker rectangles than the walls from the overhead view. So just make the drawing look that looks like a door and copy it for all locations. Try not to take this part too serious. The door is just a line that goes outward. And then on the next assignment, I'll walk you through kind of a sample of what I was looking for from your drawings. But that is your lab assignment. Hopefully that works out well for you, and good luck.